Okay, welcome back to Central Valley Business. I'm your host, Chuck Leonard, filling in for Mike Scott. Our next guest is Marcus Ruiz Evans. Marcus, how are you, buddy?
Hey,
good
nice
to see you again. Marcus, you wrote a book, California Next Century.
California's Next Century. Wrote this book around 2011, 2012, and I've been going around the state of California, spoke at 40 California cities up and down the state, Sacramento Bay Area, etc., talking about the fact that California is, whether people like it or not, whether that's legal or not, more of a nation than a regular state like Connecticut.
What do you mean more of a nation?
Well,
because our population?
We are an isolated population. We have the size of a large European nation state. We are the only state in the U.S. that's the top 10 global economy, and we've held that position for about 50 years. Texas may hold that position in 20 years, but basically for the last half century, and certainly since the last 10 to 20 years, California is the only state that's in the same club as America, as in the top 10 economies that literally control and direct the entire global economy.
So what do you think we should do? Break loose and California should be its own country?
No. But I would like to point out that that's what Governor Brown said. Governor Brown said, we are a separate nation, and he said that 2 weeks ago. He was talking about a report by California professors and New York State professors that said when you look at the fact that the UN said, California, your work on climate change, whether you like climate change or not, is so awesome that why don't you lead the continued global discussion on climate change? The World Discussion Forum handed off the reins to California. Some professors in California and New York said, states can't do that. The only way we, as political science professors, can describe that is as a nation. Now, California is a state, but you don't direct global discussion on a world issue and you're like Connecticut. You're more like a nation state. And when you look at the top 10 economy, and that we've had that, and that the governor is saying that outright 2 weeks ago, and we're going to have a protest on April 20th in Sacramento. We're inviting all Californians to come out to us.
That's going to be a tough one. That's Earth Day.
Well, fair enough, but there's already going to be thousands of people in the Capitol protesting, so we're going to have media exposure, and we already have a table, and it's allotted for 50 people. And we're going to have a giant poster of the governor saying this quote, so we think that we'll get some media exposure. But also I'd like to point out in the last few weeks that Nora Campos, the second highest ranking legislature in all of California, proposed a bill for an embassy, as in a foreign embassy, to be placed in Washington, D.C. for California. Now you tell me, what does that mean? The governor saying we're a separate country, and then the second highest legislator elected in all of California's proposing an embassy, and we're the 10th largest economy, and there was a report saying that basically you act like a nation state, and our governor signed foreign trade deals with China and Mexico, and Schwarzenegger did the exact same thing. President George W. Bush publicly criticized Arnold Schwarzenegger for signing a trade deal with Asia. Nobody in California was upset. He went ahead and did it. When we look at 187, I didn't personally like it, but 187 was basically Californians rewriting federal immigration law. In fact, President Clinton said, Governor Wilson, you can't do that. No one in California protested. So while the concept is generally radical, you can see legislators who are elected by people like you and me are publicly saying this. Official reports are publicly saying this. And Californians never seem to notice when we go ahead and change existing federal law. Nobody, 187 was changing existing federal law. Climate change was changing existing federal law. We've done that a lot with environmental regulations. We've done that with climate change. We've done that with international trade. You name it. NASA, 2 years ago, said, California, your space program is so awesome, I'm not exaggerating, go ahead and run your own independent NASA program. The Supreme Court 5 years ago said, California, your Supreme Court caseload is 40% of the national Supreme Court caseload. So maybe, California, you should have your own Supreme Court district just for your state.
So where are you going with all this?
I'm asking simply that people go to the website sovereigncalifornia.org, type in Sovereign California on your website, or go to Facebook Sovereign California, and you'll see around 7,000 other Californians who are willing to have this discussion. We're not saying what to do. What we are saying is that as Californians, we're not aware that we more resemble a nation than a state, and at a bare minimum, we should have this conversation. At a bare minimum, people should be talking about this and what this means, especially when, here in the Central Valley, we're the agricultural production region of the highest caliber in the entire planet. Schwarzenegger went to Asia, found buyers to buy California produce, signed the trade deals, foreigners inject foreign money into the Central Valley for crops that we sell. Federal government sat on those trade deals for 10 years. That was Republican President George W. Bush and Democrat President Barack Obama, 5 years each. So what I'm trying to tell Californians is, hey, when we are more internationally linked than the average American state and American overall, California's economy is about 25 to 45% internationally linked. The average state and the U.S. total is 10%. How many of you have lost millions to billions of dollars in California businesses not being allowed to sell their products to customers who are ready today to give us money? You may have heard of this thing called the global recession, and that Brookings Institute in 2014 said that the Central Valley was the poorest region in all of the United States. This is going on at the same time that we're saying, hey, we have goods, there's customers ready to give us cash for them. Nope, wait a decade. Is that fair? Is it also fair that the federal government, it's the federal government, not the state, enforced the Delta smelt decision? Now, some people don't want to say that that caused the drought on its own. Fine. But it is ridiculous to claim that the Delta smelt decision did not kick a sick person while they're down in the drought capacity. And that was a federal court that did that and decided to do that after it was not approved at the state level. And then when you look at the fact that for 30 years, 3 decades, 30 years, we've lost around $75 to $100 billion in federal income tax. So we pay federal income tax, we get 75% back. 25% we've never seen for 3 decades. That amount of money is $100 billion. You know how much the entire state income tax amount is?
How much?
$100 billion. So your entire state income tax is wasted in federal money you don't see. Or if we got back the federal money we pay for 30 years, you could literally eliminate federal income, state income taxes.
Wow. Marcus Ruiz Evans, author of California, The Next Century 2.0.
Yes. Yeah.
Always good to talk to you,
Thank
buddy.
you.
You make people think. Hey, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back.